This is the third YouTube video I'm making tonight. I'm an addict. My last video is titled, Do Instagram Followers Really Matter? It's not even really what the video is about, just clickbait. But now I am thinking about worth, you know, like I was talking about in the previous video. And my worth, you know? One second. Oh man, I just fucked my, never mind, we're cool. What quantifies your worth? I think everybody has a different answer, and I think that's what's cool. Also kind of sad. There's no real answer, you know? But that's both tough and like, damn, we can't agree. But I guess what I think is that to me, worth has always seemed like what you can do or what you do, a combination of both, you know, and what you've done. I guess your actions are mainly what I think dictate worth. How you treat things, how you approach things. Not necessarily your skills, what you can and can't do exceedingly well, because I can't do a lot of things very well. A lot of people will, while they're in school, talk about worth as in like it's just their grades. Dude, going off of that, I was worthless. I'm still worthless because I was a bad student and I'm a bad student. I'm not in college, but you know, it still applies. I know if I was in school now, I wouldn't be doing any better. Um, but let's do the classic kitten in a tree. If you try to save the kitten, I think that adds to your worth points. Because you tried to do what you figured was right, even if you couldn't necessarily do it. If it's like in an anime, side character stalls till the main character can show up and beat the bad guy. You know, the side character is not worthless, even though he may be lesser in skill and less likable or charismatic or whatever. Side character still tried to do what was right, even in spite of the fact that it was unlikely that success would come solely from that effort, you know? So even if you're stalling for the firefighters, I think your worth points are still bumped up. There's a lot of ways to answer what makes your worth, but even more confusing to me is what makes you worthless. Obviously, people are probably just going to say things that they dislike. You know, oh, worthless. You're worthless if you're broke. You're worthless if you're ugly. You're worthless if you're fat. You're worthless if you stink. That one might be true though. If you stink really bad, you don't bring any positives of any kind. I'm gonna be for real. Because your stink overpowers it. But you can change that. But what actually makes somebody worthless? I don't know. I think it's because everything has its worth in one way or another. You know? Maybe like, I don't know, I was gonna say Hitler was worthless, but he was voted into office. So at one point, it was like, damn, this guy's got some worth to him. And then, he did all the shit he did, and people are like, oh, damn, this guy is not what we wanted. You know? I don't know what makes people or things worthless. That is an incredibly complex question, and I don't think there's any actual answer. To me, nothing is absolutely worthless. Everything in some way has a positive in retrospect, maybe not in current times. Bombing Iran, Probably not a good idea. I don't know. I just have that opinion. I'm not the smartest guy. Even in this room, I'm probably not the smartest guy in this room, and I'm alone. But in the future, if people learn about it, hopefully people learn about it. There's at least worth of it in education, I guess. But that's like all I can think of, really. At least like actual worth, like outside of like political shit like that. That shit's all made up, but it does affect people, which is even more confusing. The things that are these made up things that to me are, politics is like a mishmash of shit that's made up and then gradually became reality. So it holds real weight, which is crazy. We can just bullshit shit into being real, but it holds weight because it matters. Yeah, and everything ties back to it in one way or another. Um, that's besides the point. I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't even know where I started with it. I lost track. But I don't know. What makes you, what is, if you watch this video, I want you to ask yourself, what determines your worth? And don't even think about being worthless, because nobody's worthless. Except for people who in the moment you maybe need to hate on. Because let's be for real, everybody has negative emotions. And if you see some bum on the side of the street and you're like, bro, ugly ass, stinking ass, saying ass boy, fuck you, while you're driving past him, you're not hurting anybody. And you can call them worthless in that moment. You don't have to mean it. It's a white lie just to uplift yourself. I do that shit all the time, you know? So yeah, you can say somebody's worthless, but do you really mean it? I want you to think about that. Do you really mean it? And if so, what makes them worthless? And what if somebody said that about you? Would they mean it? And what do you think they'd be saying about you determined that you were worthless? I don't think that's the right way to say that. But I guess I did just say don't think about being worthless, but reflect it. Reflect it, right? This is the mirror. See how it's pointing towards me? Because you got to reflect it back on yourself, bro. Okay, that's video number 3 of the night. GG's. Easy.